All right, boom. So we're live.
We
Welcome
we are.
back to the. This is the second episode of the Marketers Roundtable. The first episode was like a whole year ago, so like we kind of rebranded everything, relaunched it. So I'm super excited. This is a special episode with one of my students and clients, and even a friend, right? Uh,
Yeah, I mean, really, over a period of time, you build friendships. I want to say thanks for having us on this show. I'm super excited. We have my wife Viosa and our daughter.
Well, what's your daughter's name?
Oh, hi. Thank you for having us today. And yeah, my daughter's name is Arietta. Like
Arietta.
little Aria. Yep.
Who came up with the name?
Dan.
Dad. Okay. Well, what made you come up with that name?
Well, he can tell you all the story.
We picked out a few names and couldn't agree, so we just picked a name out of the hat. No, it's a name that it was a nice name. We have two other children. So two toddlers. We keep on having children in between, two like a year apart. So we got a Napoleon, a Daniel, and an Arietta.
Right. Okay. Cool. So Dan, similar to me, is agency owner. What they specifically do is they vet, train, and help you hire VAs, right, for $3 to $5 per hour. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let Dan actually tell his story about how they went. I guess you guys were probably together at the time when you went to Europe with $200 in your account.
My wife is from here. I met her sort of here, sort of in the States. I could give a brief origin story.
Yeah, give the whole story.
All right, where to begin? Well, I mean, we could I kind of left corporate America because I had I wanted to have the laptop lifestyle dream. I became a broker. And becoming a broker, you had to get good at appointment setting. Back then, we didn't call it appointment setting. Back in like 2014, 15, we called it point calling. So, if you don't know what brokering is, it's just we were doing a little bit of the loan brokering for the merchant cash advance industry and some debt purchases as well, buying debt, brokering the deal off to collection agencies. But you had to smile and dial 300 calls a day. And I ended up meeting a waiter from Macedonia, the country I'm living in right now, and he was from the same town that we're living in right now, where Viosa's from. So, make a long story short, Viosa was like my first VA. Taught her how to appointment set. I came out here with the waiter. We pretty much opened up one call center, two call centers. We started off with basically 4 desks, me and the waiter, and then Viosa and another employee. We then opened up a second location where we were able to house 20 appointments. We call them appointment setters now. We were able to hire 20 appointment setters or openers. And then from there, we kind of just went on and started just opening up more call centers. Things didn't really work out between, the venture didn't really work out as, it's very hard to sustain a long-term venture. But we started opening up centers, not only throughout like Macedonia, but, started traveling the world and opening up centers. And that kind of, pre-COVID happened. I had kids. I no longer wanted to do the office space, loved the laptop lifestyle. Remember, COVID did not hit yet, but we seen it coming. We seen the hype that the media was making of it being where it began. So I said, listen, it would be really cool if I could spend more time with the family, because me and Viosa both work together, and we could work from home, and we would be able to spend more time with the kids and still do what we do. Never worked out the way that you wanted it to, because you can't work with 2 toddlers around. But we started like really we had a large clientele, so we started preparing how to set people up at home before hiring a VA was cool. So we knew that there was management that needed to be done, training that needed to be done. We learned how to virtually train, virtually hire, virtually manage. We had the hiring lockdown pat because we were already throughout the 5 years, 6 years, we were already building relationships inside the communities that we were hiring. Vjosa is from Macedonia, so she already understood the developing country culture.
Okay.
It was a huge culture shock to me. I had to really understand the culture, understand the traditions, the religions, the mannerisms, and everything that comes with hiring outside or living outside the U.S. So I have not been back in the U.S. since 2016, and this has been pretty much our roadmap in a nutshell.
Right. So, all right. So I feel like we jumped from 2014 all the way to 22 now.
20 now. Yeah, 20 now, right?
So you go to Europe. What made you even go to Europe?
So evidently before I even became a broker, I was already in high ticket sales. I was working for a mattress company selling Tempur-Pedic mattresses for like $10,000, $5,000, and we got your smaller price mattresses at $500. So I was already in the sales industry, but I seen that, man, they had me doing like everything, the accounting. I realized that I was running the whole company in the stores that I was there. I'm not going to name did I mention the company name?
No, you didn't.
Okay. Good. We got to edit that out if I did. But I realized that I was like running the whole show. The only thing that I wasn't doing was the marketing. But like most of the sales that were coming in through referrals, and I just realized, like, man, I want to open up my own company. So I left that like $3,000 a week job back in 2015, like I think 2014, 2015. That's like kind of it's kind of a lot of money, dude. Kind of a lot of money. Right. So I left my Miami condo, had to move in, had to, downgrade, and I took a job from a buddy who just moved up to Miami. And what ended up happening is I started working for minimum wage. Again, I had to find a new living arrangement because I knew that I said, I'll take this job at minimum wage if you teach me how to run a business. So I came into his business, learned every aspect there was to appointment setting, calling, management, operations, CRMs, all that. There was really I don't want to say there was no such thing as automation, but it wasn't a hype word as it is now. How his CRM automated, the IT realm, building the PBX systems. And and then I realized, and I said, hey, listen, you're in sales. This is a call center. Can you go? I see that you got these phones. They're VoIP. Can you go anywhere in the world with these phones? And he's like, yeah, man. If I actually got this thing on my laptop that has the phone there. Remember, this is 2014, 15. We're not where we're at right now.
Right.
So I'm like, so basically, if I wanted to, I could move to Colombia. I can move to Jamaica. I can move to Argentina. I can move anywhere I want in the world and work from home. He's like, yeah. So like this idea that popped up in my head was like, oh man, I could live the laptop lifestyle, But Miami gives you creates a certain drive in you that it just, because everybody's driving Lambos, Mercedes. They got the condos. I was friends with like a lot of the attorneys down there. I was friends with like a lot of the brokers, the condos, the parties. So you're just like, oh man, I want to do that too. So the goal really wasn't to really just travel to Europe and just live there. The goal was to just travel around the world. But what ended up happening is I came into a place and that needed more work because it was like the first project that I ever had like this. And I met Vjosa, we got married, had kids, started building the businesses together. And so I seen Europe, which is Macedonia, which is ex-Yugoslavia. The average pay is $250 a month down here. And I've seen an opportunity to really build something out of nothing.
And you did build something.
Yeah, man.
Mm. So, like, what were some like early struggles that you had building your agency?
Oh boy, I want to say consistency, and I think this is not only our struggle but everybody's struggle. Everybody is like so hyped up building a six-figure agency, but can you keep that six-figure agency?
Right.
Building that consistency. I got really good at understanding the market trends and the language. And like sometimes there's not a market trend, sometimes there's a language trend, and the hype words change, and it's the same offer, just kind of positioned in a different way to. So understanding that the market is going to change, the IT is going to change, and just consistency. I mean, don't think that we built all these like call centers and we didn't fail. Hell yeah, we failed. Like we went up, down, bam. Like we had like I think it was like a 70-man call center, and we ended up getting like something happened with the credit card processing where we got like $80,000 locked up, and yeah. So when that happened, we just had to like shut that center down. But we were getting good at one industry and then getting it sustainable and then moving into the next industry, like solar. Before solar was huge, we were doing lead gen for solar. We were doing like doing live transfers for the guys that are doing credit card processing, hooking up them terminals, debt brokering, loan brokering. So it was understanding the language in each industry, and it was like most of our clients weren't coming from smiling and dialing, by the way. It was coming from what you're teaching. So what you're teaching, and I just want to like put this out to everybody, you didn't reinvent the wheel. You put it in a way that people were able to understand it. So you made it so simple, so understandable, so learnable that I think what year was it? 2020 or 2021?
When you joined my program?
Yeah, when I joined your program.
Yeah, dang, we known each other for a while. I think it
It
was.
would have been 2021, the beginning of 2021, I think.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, like beginning of 2021, ending of 20. Yeah, we known each other for a while. It's crazy.
Yeah, just for a disclaimer, it's like we didn't start off as friends. Like I'm not like one of these guys that are gonna give my friend a good testimonial. I mean, like we like even like when I joined your program and we joined your program, we were like very like hesitant. But I said like this is the way that we've been getting clients from the get go. Facebook has been a way that we've been getting clients from the get go. I go, we already have our massive referral network. So we knew that your program was, where it was at. At least I believed it. Fiona was a little bit hesitant. She was like, we don't got we just got referrals coming in. We faced the same issue that every agency faced, getting new clients. And the reason being is because we went from, call center, at $15, $20 an hour. And then, the biggest hype was like, hire your own VA at $3 an hour, So I'm like, these guys are going back to, it's like it went into like traditional recruiting almost. And I have good experience in traditional recruiting and headhunting. So we had to make that market change and say, okay, well, if nobody wants to pay 10, 20 an hour for a VA, we're going to have to do direct placements. So we had to make that market shift. So, but your program was where it was at, because with any sort of industry or any client industry where we generated clients, how do we get the clients? Well, we built authority. They seen our results. They seen who we were. They trusted us over a period of time. They heard about us. They seen us in groups. So, your program is just really structured in a way that if you apply it with consistency, it works.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I love when people get results from our program. So with your currently your headline, I guess you could say, is all right. We help vet, train, and recruit $3, $3 to $5 per hour VAs. So there's J.R.
Revis.
I think Ravi Abuvala might also have like
that guy's amazing. That guy's amazing, by the way. Like I'm such an admirer on how he markets. Like his whole YouTube, like I'm a big admirer on how he markets. I don't know anything about it.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
So like, what is unique about what you do and then what they do?
All right. Without bashing a single person, okay?
Right.
And not taking the gloves. I'm going to take the gloves off, but I'm not going to take a swing at anybody, right? First off, we spent several years building relationships in communities, okay? John Smith goes into, I don't know, Barbados, okay? And says he's hiring and he's an American company. How do the people don't know him at all, right? They're thinking that, oh man, this guy has no relationship with the community. How do we know that this guy's going to pay? You know nothing about their culture, right? So the first thing is we've built relationships within the communities. First one. Second, we've massively recruited headhunters, not recruiters, headhunters. And I'm going to tell you the difference between recruiting and headhunting. Recruiting is when I'm going to tell you the difference, right? Because now you're gonna see, and the agency's gonna see the nasty side of recruiting they never seen, right? You're advertising yourself. You're saying that you're the best. You got the best company, right? Whatever it is. A headhunter goes in and pulls and finds your staff that are unhappy, that are killing it, and brings them to a better company, better paying job. Maybe for some it's better pay. For some it's a better work culture. So we've built a relationship inside the communities that we're hiring in. We built a relationship with the managers of the biggest companies inside these communities. We've massively recruited headhunters and recruiters. So I don't ever do the interview. Never do I do the interview. Viosa handles the interview. They go through, everybody goes through 4 interviews. And you're probably like, well, that's a little bit excessive. We put them through 4 interviews because, and if any VAs are, watching this right now, that, they're going to hear this, you could fake the funk and you could sell me once. You can come twice. Or maybe the first time you had a bad day. It goes vice versa. But whatever the case may be, you go through 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews. It shows me your seriousness and your dedication, and I'm able to basically, tell if you're faking the funk, right? Just, every client wants someone who's going to be consistent and who is going to be coachable and who is going to be a productive member of their team. But it works both ways. The people we recruit want the same thing. They want clients who are going to pay on time. They want clients with a good work culture. And an A player wants to play on an A player team. So the difference between us is we have the experience. We understand what the cultures are. We're doing the vetting. Like, we're doing massive vetting. We're doing massive training. Hold on, I had a call coming in. I'm on my phone. We're doing massive training. And we just spent like I said, we spent 6 or 7 years now building the relationships inside the communities. Being there in an office, interviewing them face to face, not only taking from the communities that we're hiring in, but giving back to the communities.
That's powerful.
You got anything you want to add, Viosa?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you add what you're gonna add, and I was gonna ask you, how those interviews go when you go through those 4 interviews.
Well, I mean, that's total different world. That's something that, we understand that it's all about the hype right now. Like, everybody's on Facebook just telling each other what they should do when, we all know in reality, nobody does what they say that you should do, right? So basically, that's all on the background. That's everything that is being done on the background, and it's a massive work. It's not only Viosa that does the interviews. There's other 3 team members that do the first, second, third interview, and then as a finalizing everything would come, I would be in there, and then I will conduct the last and final interview, and then just make sure that every aspect of their work, every aspect of their skill set, every aspect of their career have been touched and have been discussed with them. And of course, if you put expectations beforehand, before you even put them through training, that's when you're going to get results. So there is a big, massive team on the background. It's not only Dan and Viosa. We're just like the face, I would say, of Octatasker and what people see. But it's there is a team behind us that does the dirty work for us, and then we're just gonna be the people that it's just taking the name out there. I would put it this way. But people and people, it's interesting because people see a person that is not from the US doing the interviews and giving them, a kind of warm shoulder and like making sure that, listen, I've been working for this company since day one. I'm here. Everything. It's all about the work culture. They understand that the work culture is good, and then the individuals that they are going to be paired with are companies that are well vetted companies as well. That we're not just having a client coming in that we know that it's not going to be consistent, or it's not going to pay them, or it's not going to treat them well. Dan on his side makes sure that every client that comes in, it's a client that has processes together and everything like that. And then the secondary thing, it's like we finding the best match for them that would be the right fit for their work culture, would be the right fit for them as an individual, because most of them are just, let's say, 1 or 2 man shop that are looking for their right hand, for somebody that would be there long time with them and will build with them. And so, yeah, it's a lot being done on the back. It's not just Dan and Viosa on the front that it's running the whole show. So that's all that I can put it.
Right. Yeah.
You were about to ask a question?
You go ahead.
I mean, it's also about the experience, like from the client side, right? It's also about the experience. Like if I feel someone is ready to hire a VA, I don't think, like, it depends on, your company, right? But after we have the initial call and I'm really we do an audit. So the biggest struggles that companies have is managing their VA, because they've never hired from outside the US, or they took a course and was told to go somewhere online and hire somewhere in the Philippines or Upwork or Fiverr, or they've used other VA placement agencies that weren't coached properly. So what we go ahead and do is we do what we call client success calls. So if you were to come in and say, I need a VA for this, this, and this, I mean, I think the most important thing is making sure that you've done the market research and you have an offer that's sellable to your avatar. Second thing is delegation. What are the most important tasks? What's the day-to-day task looking like? Do you even have that in place? Third thing is hiring, putting a system in place that's going to properly manage. So we do a client success call where we really take a deep dive into the management and operations of, I guess a company or that department, depending on what, position they're hiring for, and making sure that they have their stuff together. And if there's something that we can improve, we make that improvement. If they just this is their first VA, they're a sales guy and they just need a VA to come in and make some. I'm using the term VA, by the way. A VA could be anybody working remote. Appointment setters, it could be anybody working remote. Sales guy, salesperson, sorry. Could be male or female, male or female. Salesperson, whatever the case may be, we come in there and we make sure that they have that the candidate, the VA, is coming into an organized environment, and that we're setting their VA up for success, and we're setting our clients up for success.
Love that. Yeah, you guys have like just a totally different story than most people have when it comes to starting an agency. Like, you know, you already had a ton of experience with what you offer before you even started offering it. Most people, they come in trying to sell Facebook ads, never ran an ad before. I tried doing that. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
So it's a totally like unique story, and then I just love how you guys, you know, really care about your clients. Like I would bet money that you guys have a offer that a lot of VA agencies don't have.
It's not even about our clients. I mean, it's definitely about our clients, but it's about the clients and the candidates because they're both equally important to us.
Right.
Whenever we get one candidate hired, we're in, like, you don't understand, like, I don't know if you don't, but most people don't understand, like, people like live in houses with their mom, their dad, their husband. They all live in one house and everybody contributes, right? So it's about that one job is it can impact a whole family.
Right.
So it's not about just the clients. It's always the clients, but we also look at the candidates that we're recruiting sort of like a client as well. And we want to make sure that we're making the perfect match and that there's an equal exchange of service.
I mean, you should care, you know, whenever you hire. There's a lot of people that are hiring nowadays, and you know, sometimes they just didn't even understand the culture where they're hiring from, or why they're hiring in the first place. Like, do they really need that VA? Do they really need somebody to make the phone calls, or you know, do they have to make the phone calls first? So when Dan comes in and onboards a client first, this is the things that are being discussed. And then when it comes to, you know, the VAs, us onboarding the VAs and training the VAs and, you know, bringing them into Octatasker, that's a whole different thing, that we care about the client the same way that we care about the candidate.
Right.
I am more on the side when it comes to, you know, headhunting, recruiting, training the VAs. Like, I've been a VA myself. I have done the hardcore cold calling, you know, to set up the appointments that it's called now. And I know how, you know, I know how much grease you need to have in your elbows, and I know how much drive you need to have in order to make them calls. So I've been a VA. I have been a sales person. I have been a manager. I've done training. I've done everything when it comes to like everything that is being done on background. And then, you know, of course, right now we're doing a little bit more sophisticated. We're like doing this more online, but we have done this face to face with people. And me being from outside of the US, understanding, I would say, for the place that we're at, a third world country or a developing country, understanding the culture where you're hiring, sitting down with them, knowing their pain points, knowing that $250 might not be a lot for you as an employer, but it's going to be a lot for me as an employee. And, you know, now being with kids, having nobody watching your kids, and then, you know, having to work to provide for that, for the family and for the kids. Like, we understand that. That's why even people on the other line, when we're interviewing, when we're vetting them, they understand that we understand their pain points. We know where they come from, and we know how important it's for them to be paired with the right client. Because sometimes, Desmond, to be honest, you can not always make the right choices. You cannot always make the right matches. It's even in the real life. It's not only with employer employee. So sometimes we do fail on that. You know, it happens, but we just try to minimize those failings, I would say, because it's not like every time that you fail, you learn something. And then you know that you should not rush the process. You should go through every step of the way, making sure that everything is up and up, and then, you know, putting the last decision and placing this candidate with the right client. It's all about, you know, measuring everything and making sure that both sides have the same traits and both sides would be happy with, you know, employer being happy with this employee and employee being happy with this work culture and with work environment. So that's all where it comes from.
That's awesome. So then, how do you guys deal with a problem where there is like a mismatch?
So we provide a 60-day replacement guarantee. If someone like it happens, it doesn't happen. We try to make sure it doesn't happen often. It definitely doesn't happen a whole lot. If we go back and look at the stats, but it happens, man. We just provide a 60-day replacement guarantee. So if something the candidate's just not working out, maybe they're just not a right fit. Maybe that candidate doesn't really want to work with that company. Maybe that candidate's not showing up on time or is being inconsistent. We replace like right away. And because we have 20 to 40 candidates being trained every week prior to being placed with our client, we can offer like a very quick solution. Like if I brought a virtual assistant to you today and tomorrow you said it's not working out, I got a replacement for you right away. And then we schedule an onboarding. We go over the contract paperwork, front and back copy of the ID, expectations, working hours, all that, just to make sure that there's very clear expectations and that your VA is properly being onboarded into your company. And they're just not coming, they're not coming in there blindly, and you're not, hiring someone blindly.
Awesome. So now let's talk leadership. So you guys are in business together. How does that look like? You guys are managing a super large team. Like, how does that work out? I know, like, there's a saying out there that is like, don't do business with family or whatever, but you guys are a family business. So how does that work out?
Well, the first thing is, like, when you're developing your business, developing that core team that's going to be there, because it's not when you're gonna fall. You need someone that's gonna help you, be there for you on that rebound, right? You're not gonna make every shots, man. It's not, but you need someone to be there for that rebound. So having that rebound team. When it comes to pretty much as a CEO perspective, I lead the company when it comes to that. But listen, I'm not good at certain things. I freaking suck at management. So I have a guy that does all my management stuff. Anything management related, team building, stuff like that. Viosa's more on the recruiting side. She runs, the whole the whole HR. We have another person that pretty much runs the marketing. I want to say I kind of handle the sales and the nurturing, and then we have another team that handles the fulfillment. And so we have most of the stuff really delegated. We have a team that, of appointment setters that do the prospecting, because I'm not going to say I could hire you an appointment setter if I can't set an appointment myself.
Right.
It's all about delegation. So if I was like to start my company from day one and I had nobody, I think the first thing I would do is I would do everything myself. So if I was to start my agency, whatever it is, recruiting agency, because that's what we really are. We're a recruiting agency. We're not a marketing agency. Right. We're a recruiting agency that recruits specifically for marketing agencies. But that does international recruiting but we are an agency. So if I was going to start my agency from day one, the first thing I would do is I would hire an executive assistant, somebody that could do the admin tasks, that could be on my ass, and that could also do some of the, that could take the delegated tasks and let me do the stuff that's important, maybe the marketing, maybe the sales, but they could also, do a lot of the delegated tasks. Pretty much the person that would eventually become the COO, if that makes sense. Right. Or if they're not going to become the COO, just, my executive assistant. I don't know if you ever watched, Suits, my Donna. How Donna was always, handling the dirty work. I don't know if you ever watched the series.
I never watched it, but I'm listening.
Oh man, yeah. Just that receptionist that was taking care of all the dirty work, making sure everything was done. So that would be the first, the first position I would ever hire, and then I would just delegate out. I would figure out what brings in the green, what brings in the red, and everything that brings in the green, I would start hiring, things that bring in the green. and secondary would be red. Admin tasks that need to be done. And of course, I would try to automate as much admin tasks as I possibly can. But you can't always, sometimes you need a human touch. So there's things that even though you can automate, you still need that human touch. So that would be my first position I would hire for. My second position would definitely be that once I get my systems in place and I find a system that really works. Listen, not every client, and I'm going to say this as a disclaimer, even if we provide the systems, the prospecting systems, not every client is going to have success when hiring a VA, appointment setter, sales agent. And I'll tell you why. Not every client has their offer nailed into their avatar. So if the client doesn't do their due diligence and do their own market research and see if their offer is actually marketable to that avatar and they want to hire a VA, they have to understand, and we tell them, right off the bat, your VA is just A/B testing. They're just A/B testing offers. So, but to move forward, after I get my prospecting process nailed down and my KPI metrics tracked, and I figure if I'm cold calling, let's pretend I'm cold calling, right? How many dials, how many people am I getting connected to? Out of how many people I'm getting connected to, how many decision makers am I getting connected to? Out of how many decision makers am I getting connected to, how many people are waving their hand and saying, I'm interested? And out of how many people that are waving their hand saying, I'm interested, how many are becoming sales on the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days? And once I get those KPIs tracked, I can figure out how to really hire an appointment setter. And then how I'm going to scale. Because you can't scale unless you have KPIs. And then I would also, I would have my executive assistant pay attention to the market trends, the language that's being used. And I'm going to say something that's like so controversial, and people are going to, probably bash me in the comments. Right now, everybody's waving the flag. Have I read that $1 million offer book? No, I haven't. Because I don't have to, because everybody's giving their feedback. But everything in that book, everybody's doing, right? So what's going to happen is the market's going to become so saturated with everything that I can't remember his name. What's his name's going to be saying. So you know what I'm going to do? The exact opposite, and I'm going to stand out. Now, I'm not saying that there's not valuable stuff, because I'm more than sure that book, like so many people have said, that's the most valuable thing. But the point I'm trying to make, in a saturated market, become the exact opposite. Stand out.
Wow, that right there, that was a gold nugget. I like that a lot. Yeah, it's super interesting you say that, because I did read that book, and Alex Hormozy, his offer is essentially like, we'll guarantee you 60 grand in 90 days or something. Now every ad I see is, I guarantee you 30 grand or you get your money back.
That's for me. That's like that's crazy. If I'm going to guarantee you 60 grand in your business, just give me your model, man, and give me a profit share. Like if I got to come in and guarantee you 60 grand, now again, I'm going to be eaten alive. But if your offer is guaranteeing that, if you're a marketing agency, your only job is to generate them leads, conversions. Like you're not that's not the sales department, that's the marketing department, right? It's the sales department to follow up, and close them.
Right.
So as a marketing agency owner, how can I guarantee that you're like, if I'm a marketing agency and I'm doing ads, right? How can I guarantee you 60K if your freaking sales team blows? Why would I take on that responsibility with that guarantee? You gotta make it, So I think like I said, I think like the feedback I'm getting, people are like, oh my God, this book blew the mind. Mine, but I think it's like I guess it's became like the religious book inside the marketing, world, right? It's all about, and when we read religion, it's all about interpretation. It's how you interpret it. I interpret what you just said, guarantee them X amount of money, guarantee them something, but don't guarantee them something you can't deliver, or that's not your responsibility to deliver.
Right.
Now, if I said I guarantee you 60K if you let us run your ads and you hire me to recruit and train your sales department and manage your sales department, I can guarantee you X results because now I have control of all those moving functions.
Right. That's kind of like Warren Buffett. I think why he's so successful as an investor is I heard somewhere that he makes sure that if he invests in a company, like he has some sort of like control over the company so he can control the stock. So it's interesting you bring that up. Okay, so we done talked about a lot: client attraction, leadership, building from ground up. And you even talked about what you would do.
They don't call me ADD Dan for nothing, man.
Hey, dude, I deal with it too. I understand. That's nice. So okay, so let's talk. You guys do cold calling. Cold calling is one of your client attraction methods?
Yes, but I don't think, and I'm going to swagger jag from Ravi. Okay. I'm swagger jagging, giving Ravi this credit. You want them, and we'll go back to what you do as well. We want every single one of our clients to consume 2 hours of our content. Ravi is a genius for saying this, right? Credit goes to Ravi. Content. You need to be everywhere. You need to be on Facebook. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on YouTube. You need to be everywhere. We're not everywhere. It takes a lot of resources to be everywhere, but we will be everywhere in the end of the quarter. We will be everywhere. So we want everybody to consume our content. Once they consume our content, they see the results. We don't give fluff. We do bare knuckle boxing. I tell it right how it is. Then you get that sales call. So example, I got people booking with me every day. There's certain, I turn down certain people. I mean, we turn down probably 50 to 70 grand, a month just because we know that they're not going to be a right fit because their expectations, are unrealistic, if that makes sense. Or they're not, or another case would be they're not ready, to hire yet. So, or they haven't done, because the last thing I want is someone saying like, oh my God, man, I hired a VA from you. He got me no results. That's not our fault. We're not a freaking lead gen company, man. We're a recruiting agency. So if I see that like a client doesn't have, if I am not confident that I could help and assist with getting the results, I won't take them on as a client. I'll give them the resources they need or point them in another direction. I'm not a coach. I'm not good at coaching. That's not my thing. The only thing that I probably do coach is some of the people that are opening up placement agencies, and I show them how to do it in a way that their clients are going to be successful. HR, hiring, like that's the only type of coaching that, we'll touch. But as far as marketing and life coaching and organic marketing coaching, that's not my field, man. So yeah, we just, we're really careful on taking on clients and who we take on as a client. I want to work with someone who's pleasant to work with, who's fun to work with, who's professional. That's really, and someone that we're going to essentially be able to get results when it comes to hiring them the talent. But it's not my responsibility to get your company sales or get your company this or get your company that. My responsibility is to make sure that you're getting the talent.
Right. Awesome. So now I got probably maybe 2 or 3 more things. So right now, are you guys like trying to scale or are you just trying to maintain?
Nah, we're past the maintaining. We've been maintaining for 6 years. We've been scaling. Listen, we're not trying to maintain. We're not trying to scale, right? We are trying to build consistency. Okay. All right. There's everybody always comes to us, right? And how many times have you told me, raise your prices, raise your prices, raise your prices? People will raise their price because there'll be a hype. There'll be like a 90 or 6 month hype, right? Well, someone will pay that price, but we also understand that we want to make things affordable to our client. So we do things. Sorry if you hear my baby in the background.
Don't even worry about it.
So we do things in a way that we scale slowly. I'm in it for the long term. We don't scale fast. Rome wasn't built in a day, but Neuro burned it down overnight. And he burnt it down so he could rebuild Rome for how he wanted it to be built. So when we're scaling in a way very slowly, quarterly, for the long term. I've been here for, like I said, 2016, and I'm gonna be here for another 10 years because I'm going to scale slowly. I'm going to pay attention to the market trends. We're going to pay attention to the language that our clients use and the way that we have to change the language in the offer from a marketing standpoint. So yeah, like when it comes to scalability, of course, everybody's trying to scale, but we're not trying to scale so fast, because what happens when you start scaling to $100,000 a month? Well, you need workforce to scale like that, man. And what happens when you scale and the market changes, and within the next quarter, you can't really figure out what the problem is or why you're not getting as many sales, because everybody took the same course and now everything's saturated. And you got to figure out, what the hype is and the market trend, and now you can't sustain the workforce. So if you scale too fast, you're gonna destroy your reputation, man, and you're gonna burn down.
I love that. I love that. You talk a lot about paying attention to the market, and talk about pivoting too, just like paying attention to what's going on and changing accordingly. And then you also talked about just being everywhere, social media. Like I've been doing a big push. Like I'm on, TikTok, YouTube, everything. Just trying to, keep people's attention. Nice. So, lastly, two things I want to talk about. What was it called? Hiring with the Joneses, and then I'll talk about just like problems that, let's say, you guys might occur, being in a relationship and running a business. I know there's a phrase that's like,
yeah. I mean, like, listen, when you're married, man, and you first start out, okay, first off, a business is a relationship, okay? You have to divide your relationship and business, okay? So
it's hard.
if Viosa and I are having an argument that involves our home life, we can't bring that into the work environment and me say, well, I'm not going to do this because, you get what I'm saying, or, vice versa. So, understanding that a business is a functioning body that needs to function, and our relationship is our relationship. It is not easy. It is not easy, man. There was definitely some struggles in the first, few years figuring out how to run a business together and be in a relationship, with the kids, with everything, how to handle the stress of all of that. I mean, like, so my whole goal, like, and this is the advice I can give everybody. If you're going through any sort of issues inside your business, inside your life, whatever the case may be, try to figure out a way to minimize that stress, because every time that you have unnecessary stress, it takes you away from the end goal, making money, building generational wealth. Like I said, I'm doing this for the long term. I'm not doing this for the short term. I could make $10,000 in one day by accident, just by meeting the right client. It's about the long-term game. This is my advice to anybody. If you got a relative, whether that's a brother, a cousin, and they are not contributing to your success, get them the fuck out the door. Get them the fuck out. I don't care. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, whatever it is. Get them far away from you. Put them so far. It's your theater. It's your play. Put them high up. Put them high up in those seats up there. Get them away from you. Keep the people. I always tell people this: keep people around you that are smarter than you, that you can learn from. Keep the people that share a similar dream to you. And when it comes to having a partner in a business, always remember your ambition is never going to be my ambition, and vice versa. So you have to make sure that you and your partner are not good at the same thing. and could be good at something you're not good at, and be the yin to the yang, and make sure that the ambitions are as closely matched as possible.
Right. I like
So,
that. I like that. You got anything to say, Viosa, about that?
Well, to be honest with you, Dan stated almost everything. It have been hard. It have been hard, especially the first few years. When we first had our first kid, it was, very hard to run the business, to take care of the kid, and to take care of the house. Because it's a woman, and everybody out there that is going to see this, they're going to understand. There's a lot that you have to handle behind your back, and then to make sure that everything works, the house works, the business works, the kid work. So it was hard, but I don't know, we just kind of shuffled it, and then tried to make it work. We failed a few times. We couldn't make it work. Sometimes I just pulled back, and I'm like, okay, I just have to take care of this and this, because it's just a distraction, and I cannot make things work into the business. So I had times that I had to pull back, and just watch from the background what can be done and what can be improved with me myself first, and then try to get back into the business and help into the business. So it was hard. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit in here and it was all great and there was no issues there. Like every relationship has issues, like every business has issues. Whatever you guys see on social media that everybody it's hitting those figures with no issues and stuff like that, it's just a facade. It's just a facade. The real thing happens on the background, and we all have to accept it because it's part of our lives. We just have to accept it, move on. Accept when you do a mistake. It's humane. Everybody makes mistakes, but try to learn from that mistake. And that's what we did. We learned from our past mistakes. We learned from what was not working as, being married, being in a relationship, being a family, and then try to make it work in the business world. So now, we have put together like a schedule, I would say. So Monday to Friday, it's business, business, business. And then Saturday, Sunday, it's family, family, family. Even though sometimes we have to break that because sometimes you have needy clients that wants you to be with them every step of the way. So sometimes you just, you need to take a few hours from your family time and you have to dedicate to that. But, everything works at the end. If you put the work and if you have the ambition and if you want it to make it work, it's going to work. You're going to find a way to make it work. So it's just simple as that. Things don't work. Just try to see what doesn't work and try to make it work.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that you guys have, been together for a long time and, been through struggle and whatnot. That's where real relationships are built. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, last thing I want to just talk about is training with or hiring. I don't know if that was what the
hire with the Joneses.
yeah, hiring with the Joneses. I think you told me that privately, but I don't know if you.
Yeah. So it's going to be powered by Octotasker. Hire with the Joneses. Since it's everybody's noticing. No one's really caring about Octotasker. What they're noticing is Dan and Viosa. So it's more about the hiring experience. You don't have to interview your candidate. We already know what candidate's going to work for you. At least we try to make sure we already know what candidate's going to work for you. If not, we'll replace that. We're going to take a deep dive into your company. We're going to, do that client success call, make sure that you have good management systems in place, prospecting systems in place. We're going to make sure that, we're doing the onboarding, take care of all that HR stuff, the front and back copy, the ID, the tax forms, the independent contractor agreement, all that fun stuff. We're doing all that for you. And we're just making it a super pleasant experience. So, for people that have never hired before, for people that want to just really open up a placement agency or VA agency or want to learn how to run their VA agency better. We're also doing, like I guess coaching, you can call it, but we're helping them out as well. Or anybody who's an HR professional, because we've done corporate recruiting before, totally different than agency recruiting.
Right.
So anybody who's just trying to, improve their HR processes, that's also, what we're helping, to build.
Nice. And then you have some free resources for the audience.
Yeah, so we're gonna be putting we made a group, we're gonna be putting a group together. We kind of made our first group. We're gonna be, restructuring our group, giving out our free the way that we hire our VAs. Tips and tricks on how to hire a VA, tips and tricks on red flags to look for, where we're finding good setters at, where we're finding good IT talent at, where we're finding good closers at. We're putting a group together that, for talking about how to do good market research to make sure your offer, your offer is sellable to your avatar, giving out those, prospecting processes. We're going to be sharing them in the group. And then, good management systems we use, and how to how to develop good management culture. So we're gonna be doing a lot of those live trainings inside that group. We just haven't got to it yet.
Awesome. So if you're on YouTube, I'll make sure I put that in the description. If you're on Facebook, I'll put that in the description also. So any last words for the agency owners out there, maybe new entrepreneurs? You have like years ahead of me, so any words for me?
Listen, you're gonna fail. Failing is human. Don't give up. Keep it going. Just you got to have the motivation. If you don't have the motivation, something's not working out. Don't give up, man. Everything starts with really getting good at your craft and finding the place where it's marketable too. Finding your avatar, finding the language that they understand, and just don't give up, man. Like we've had tons of we've hit rock bottom. Don't give up. Keep it moving. And eventually you're gonna build what you want it to build.
I love that. All right, Viosa, anything?
Well, I mean, the only thing that I want to add to everything that Dan stated is for everybody to keep it real. Life happens, there is struggles. Just keep it real. Dedicate yourself to what you want to be good at. Don't scatter yourself around, because sometimes we forget that we just have to be good at one thing. We don't have to be good at everything, and then be good at that thing. Make sure that you're the best at that thing, and just keep it going. Just keep it going and grinding. That's all that I can, give any advice to everybody. Just keep it moving.
I love that.
I got one more thing to add for the agency owners out there. You want to keep your staff. If you're running into overturn, try to focus on training, try to focus on support, try to focus on communication, but most importantly, pay your VAs on time. The moment that you're an hour late paying your VA is like writing someone a bounce check. You're going to look unstable. Make sure that you got your stuff together when you're hiring a VA, so they're coming into an organized working environment, so they take you as a serious company. If they don't look at you as a serious company, they're going to think you're a joke, and they're just going to, the first 2 weeks, they're just going to chill, and they're going to do minimum work to see if they're going to be paid. So that's my advice for agency owners who are hiring themselves.
I love that. All right, y'all. For anybody who watches this on Facebook, just ask any questions below. YouTube, same thing, and we'll get back to you. Dan is in my group, so he can answer the questions for you, and then I can also answer the questions on YouTube. So that is the second episode of the Marketers Roundtable. These interviews never fail to get me excited. I learned a ton, especially from this one. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Love it. Thanks for being a part.